Hello sports fans, and welcome to another episode of Lancing with Myself, the weekly show where I take 5 minutes out of my day to give you some advice and inspiration on being a freelance game designer, especially when you're low on spoons and low on cash. Last week we talked about whether you need mathematics to be a game designer or math skills, and the answer is it helps, but it's not going to be the be-all and end-all of your your game design career. It depends on what kind of games you want to build. Everything you can learn is useful. Everything you bring to games is useful. But the other question that I often come across, and something that I came across a lot more often in my career, have come off and will continue to come across, is do you need to be a graphic designer? And like mathematics, the answer is it's very helpful, especially if you understand the idea of graphic design. I am not a good graphic designer, and that's been a problem. That's been something that I've batted up against over and over again in my career. I have some mathematics skills. I have zero graphic design skills. I have no capacity to do it. My hand shakes. My vision is just not attuned to that kind of thing. I've tried to learn Photoshop and just have hit a wall over and over again. And I have terrible penmanship. My cards and my prototypes tend to be ugly as hell. And that makes me less confident. It took me a long time to just be able to go, look, it's ugly, like it anyway. So what do? You find ways around it. I have a friend who isn't great at any of it, but knows how to use Photoshop pretty well, and he'll occasionally do things for me just, off the top of his hat. He just likes to do game design projects for himself and for others. That's how he taught himself how to do Photoshop. I found another guy who wants to help me make some games, and he's been willing to help me for free. So reach out, find people to work with. There's a tendency among some creatives to sort of put up a wall and go, well, you have to pay me first. The fact is, that's somewhat unrealistic. There are going to be times in the industry where you are going to want to work with other people, in the hope that money will produce itself later on. So you find designers who can complement your skills, and you work with them. The other thing you can do is simply work around it. Make games that don't have a huge amount of graphic design to them. Think about, and also be prepared to present prototypes to companies, with the understanding that there will be better graphic design. You can present games as long as they're clear on what they're actually doing and that they can be understood. And you can do that with a word processing program or with just pen and ink. As long as it's clear, you'll be able to get people to engage with the game mechanics. And you sort of say, look, I don't have any graphic design skills. Please don't judge it on that. Please look at the core gameplay. A decent publisher is going to understand that. Obviously, competition is fierce these days, and if you look with a lot of bling, that's good. That is a way to present yourself as having worked on something. But I talked to someone who was a graphic designer the other day, and he had a good piece of advice for me. It's like, what publishers are looking for is not whether a game looks polished, but whether a game looks like it's been polished, whether it looks like it's been worked on over several times. They don't want to see the first iteration, the first draft. What they want to see is the 12th draft, the 20th draft, the 30th draft. And there are ways that you can impart that onto a project without having to have graphical skill. And that sense of this is something that someone has invested in is what they're looking for, and you can achieve that with not a lot of money and not a lot of skill by simply working it over and over again, making it polished as you can get it, and that's being neat and tidy and using whatever you've got. And the same is true with mathematics. Like, you can also, if you have trouble with the maths, you can still polish and polish and polish and test and test and test as much as you can and get it as good as you can, and then you can, as long as it looks like you haven't just pulled the numbers out of your ass, then you've got something that you can present to people and go, look, I've done a lot of work on this. Work is what matters. Sweat is what matters. In this industry, in game design, in general, it's all about hustle. And that means iterating, playtesting, working, making many more additions, and being ready to put in the work in every step of the process. Ultimately, that is the sort of what makes a really good game designer, is someone who is willing to hustle over and over again and just keep sharpening that game over and over again. And you are looking for ways, if you're pitching your game to a publisher, You're looking for ways to show to people that you've done that work, that you've done the hustle, that you've done the iteration, and that you've got it a long way along the process, and you're going to keep taking it along that process with them. Nobody wants to work with anyone who isn't willing to put in the hours and the tedious process of turning the thing over and over again. If you can show that, that's what you need. So, don't worry if you haven't got too much design. Work your way around it. Find other people and find ways to show that you're willing to do the work. Hard work will go a long way. There's also luck, but hard work will go a long way. So, that's my message to you. Try to find ways to show that you've put in the effort and done the iteration. Till next time, be good, play games, have fun, pat dogs.